Thank you everyone for being here with us today. Just want to make sure that you guys can hear me right. So if you have like a thumbs up or something on your presentation panel or whatever you are seeing, please let me know just to make sure that you can hear me right, guys. I'm talking about the participants of the webinar because I don't see anyone just reacting. Huh. Crystal clear. There you go. Perfect. Thank you. And again, good morning or maybe good afternoon, depending on where you are, guys. Again, it's a pleasure to have you here today. To borrow some time, take a little bit of time of your agendas, having this conversation with you guys about the innovations for preventing active shooter situations. My name is Mauricio Meza. I work in Konica Minolta as the Senior Product Manager for React, and I received the invitation for one of our partners, Scylla, that is basically the brain behind visible weapon detection through React. But the idea of today, guys, is not to talk to you about React, not to talk to you about a product, no, make this presentation kind of an infomercial. Actually, we would like to address the concern about shooting situations and talking about or having a conversation about facts, factuals, information that may be the difference between saving life or not. We want to speak about prevention. We want to speak about gaining time in this type of situation. Honestly, I'm gonna be the backup singer because the lead singer is with me over here. We have the pleasure to have Chris Grollnek, basically a leader, a beacon in active shooter prevention here in the US, and I will say worldwide. And he has an impressive record. He is the managing principal for active shooting prevention project, for example. He has been several times invited as be the expert for public speaker for active shooter domestic terrorism, for example. Numerous times he appears in national news, in NBC, CNN, Fox, basically give you guidelines, information about the ways to prevent a shooting, how to do, what not to do. But I will say the most important part about Chris is basically a citizen that is trying to raise awareness about the importance of active shooter prevention. So without further ado, let me pass the baton to Mr. Chris Grollnek and start the presentation for you guys. By the way, before Chris, because before I forgot, we have a Q&A session here. You will see it on the bottom part of your screen. So when you're ready, just start typing the question. We will go to a Q&A session at the end. And also important, this whole presentation has been recorded. In between 2 to 3 days, you will have a copy of the recording. So just pay attention to what we see over here. Sorry, Chris, now everything is yours.
All right, Mauricio, we're ready to go. Thank you so much for that very kind welcome. Everyone, it is Happy Tuesday today. And listen, I'm a ball of energy. If your microphone is or your volume is too high or too low, you might want to adjust accordingly. I sometimes get excited during these things because I talk to you and because we're going to change the paradigm of active shooters. All right. I mean, that's not just the goal, but we've created a pro model, right? The prevention, response, and options. And it is a national standard now. It just is. Pardon me. Today, I want to just share with you for about, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 10 of the most important slides, maybe 12, that we have out of a 2, 3, 8-hour training seminar. It just depends which seminar we're teaching. If it's a keynote, I'd ask for your attention. It's not that long. I want to thank Konica Minolta today. I want to thank Scylla. I want to thank all the community of experts in the Active Shooter Prevention Project. Without them, this wouldn't be possible. And I can tell you this isn't a monetary thing. This is an informational, what about active shooters? So the number one thing I want you to take away from this is if you go home and you forget anything about work today, about what you're doing, about what you're trying to purchase, about a solution, what you're trying to sell, and just think about these are the incidents that happen globally. They're no longer an American phenomena, they're a global phenomena. And the way they happen and how we deal with them. So I'd ask you to open your mind and understand that one of my favorite sayings comes on this premise that we have to change what we're doing. Because the saying goes like this: we didn't come this far just to come this far. And we're here. We have an opportunity to change these things. And without getting too wrapped around into the deck of how far we're going to go, I just want you to realize it's possible. And just about anything is possible. It's just going to take all of us to get there. My name's Chris Grollnek. I am one of the nation's leading active shooter prevention experts. Mauricio is a very good dear friend, and I'm telling you, I'm grateful and humbled to be here with him. Before we get too far down that, I also want to say that you need to understand that these are three different tenets that we talk about. And we're talking about days of training, years of training. I have 33 years in the application of this. Specifically, since 2007, I've been working on active shooters. I have a master's degree in it. I've been involved in one, and I have a unique perspective. And I understand that there's no way we can respond our way out of these things. We have to understand that where you're sitting at right now, we didn't come this far to come this far. But there is no national standard for the public. That's you, that's me. And all the police on here, that's you and your families. Yes, while there are responders and there's a large piece of responder we need to consider about preventing them that wholesale and how to buy more time for the police and give the police more information, intelligence, and whatever word you want to say. We have, unfortunately, 25 years since Columbine that we've learned that Columbine took 45 minutes to get into. In other words, the police showed up and never went in. And why? They weren't equipped. They weren't ready. It wasn't a phenomena as it is today. And then we see what happened just 2 years ago in the unthinkable Uvalde report that just came out. And it took an hour and 17 minutes to go in. Now, it doesn't matter what your opinion is. It doesn't matter what my opinion is. It doesn't matter what anyone's, not even the DOJ report. Those are just facts. The facts are 45 minutes, 25 years ago, an hour and 17 minutes, 23 years later. Response isn't working. So we have to address the way we respond. Absolutely, wholesale, yes. But we also have to look at the prevention. And how do you do that? You marry it up with options. And today we're going to talk about some of those options and what they look like. Because if not, you're just going to be repeating history. We're going to come back to here and you're going to call me tomorrow and you're going to see me on the news, or you're going to call one of my associates with the Active Shooter Prevention Project and you're say, oh my gosh, what happened? What went wrong? And we're going to say the same thing that happened yesterday. We forgot these basic numbers. This is just math, right? These are numbers that are available to the public anywhere. And they come straight out of the FBI and Secret Service reports. And they're aggregated differently in all the reports over 25 years because there's no real standard for reporting these. What is an active shooter? How do you determine what number it is? How do you determine how long it went? Well, the average active shooter for 25 years, and by no means am I suggesting Columbine was the first active shooter. The year before that, there was a horrible tragedy in Oregon. But the reason we chose to start at Columbine is because we got a baseline of what goes wrong when you're in an open space, an open environment, or an enclosed environment, and evil visits you, and there's no police present, or there are police present. So we took those numbers and we narrowed them down. And we found that these are actually light. These are on the light side. But an active shooter starts at 0 minutes and ends at 8. Now you think about that. We've only been on this webinar 7 minutes and 22 seconds. So if we were inside the unthinkable, the police still wouldn't be here. So every day we wake up and we think of new ways to invent time. Now we can't change time. The time ticks away, right? And time is nothing more than emotion. So our emotions are high. We're physically going through the cycle of whatever's happening at that time of adrenaline, fight or flight, freeze, where to go. That's not the day you want to solve the problem, right? Because the police can't get there until 8 minutes. So if you're alone for 8 minutes, what can we do to give you those 8 minutes back? And I'd love to, this is a good time, start putting some stuff in the chat, please. We're going to get into some questions and answers. And right now, while the participants are here, this will end up on both of our YouTube channels. And we average about 50,000 views per video. So believe me, you're going to help those other 49,000 people plus. If you have a question that you just don't want to ask, please ask. There's no embarrassing question. There's no question too big, too small. And we address it all. It's just in a very respectful manner. And you might not like the answer, or you'll love the answer and you'll want more information, at which point I'll direct you where to go to get that. So we know that the U.S. Secret Service says it takes about a minute to get a hold of 911, right? So let's look at that on its face. Cool. 8 minutes for the police to get there, and they got called in a minute. That's actually not exactly the whole story. The whole story is you have to realize you need to call 911. And these are where the numbers get, it's not fuzzy math. It's literally you have to use common sense to get there. So if an active shooter is occurring for 4 minutes, and that's how long it takes to start dialing the digits, and then you get through, and then it's a minute, you're at 5 minutes. It takes you 5 minutes to call the police. So if we're in that active shooter now, it's 9 minutes and 20 seconds. So police should have been on scene for about a minute and a half, and the shooter's probably gone for a minute and a half. And the police are not coming to help you. The police are coming to stop the active shooter. So we're trying to encapsulate two different objectives, right? And things that happen at the same time, simultaneous, to come into one present state. And that is, tell the police what's happening before it happens, get the police coming early, whole 5 minutes, and then have them directed to where the last known location was that some type of visual weapons detection system saw that firearm. And yeah, we're talking about visual weapons detection, but I'm going to tell you honestly, this is a whole layered onion. This is one critical component of that onion to buy back this time. So if we can give you back 5 minutes and you think that's not that important, please take a look at the screen. Think of this downtown Los Angeles area, this landscape, and pretend it's night. Just close your eyes for a second. And you're inside one of these buildings, but you don't really remember the address because you're just visiting. And you hear a shooting 2 doors down and you're on the 24th floor. If you pick up your cell phone and say, help me, there's an active shooter. Help me, I'm being shot at. Where are you? What's your location? Well, I'm in the tall building with the lights on. And police are responding. You help me understand where they're responding to. Yes, they can geolocate you from your phone most of the time, but not always. And if they're trying to gain information and you're trying to gain safety, neither one of your priorities are aligned. So why don't remove that? Why don't we remove that from the human factor, put it into the AI realm, if you will, and let AI do the work for you? Because if somebody shows up with a firearm and an intention of doing some type of violence, and yes, there's mechanisms to deal with that, and they come into an area, in the unlikely event they come into an area and you or someone you love or your whomever is there, someone you know, you would want every opportunity to beat that clock, because you know they're there from 0 to 8 minutes. Police aren't there until 8 minutes after, and you can't call for 5. And once you call, you have to discern where you are. So again, inside that picture, now you have a camera system installed. It has weapons detection in it, and it's notifying the police through artificial means, and it's sending the message. This is such a more deeper topic that I've reduced to these few 8 slides, that I would ask you for a little bit of grace and understanding that we're just trying to get a 30-minute message across, actually a 33-year message in about 30 minutes. And I would open now for as many questions as possible. I think we have enough time to get through them. Mauricio, I think you're going to post the questions and answers, and I'll answer as I go.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So
okay.
waiting for the questions. And actually, if you allow me, because Chris, you mentioned obviously several facts and information that are very relevant for what we are speaking today, like the onion with several layers approach, which is great analogy, because yes, I told you at the beginning, guys, that this conversation is not going to talking about a product, in our case, the visible weapon detection through Konica Minolta powered by Scylla. But it's one of the layers. And remember, normally what you want to do is put as many layers as you need to in order to gain time. And after answering the first question, I'm gonna maybe show you, and again, a kind of a conceptual video talking about, yes, visible weapon detection, but mostly time. I have the first question here is, can you talk about how the software works for detecting weapons? So yes, I can. You know what? Let me switch to my side to do a small, very tiny presentation. It's gonna be one slide. I don't know, Anastasia, if you
I
have to
will
give.
promote you. 1 second.
All right. So, okay, so let me start here, presentation mode. 1 second, swap here, just to help me here more visual.
While you're doing that, Mauricio, let me just hit the second question that came in via my email before you hit play. It says, what are some of the other layers of I think they're asking of protection, because and prevention. Prevention means everything, right? Prevention means it's very difficult to measure. It's very difficult to know what prevention is, but we can't always count the preventative measures. But I can tell you, with our systems in place in different locations, we have 3 registered saves. We have 3 where the police intervened and intercepted shooters before they came in. So the project's work, and I'm really excited to share this module with you. So please go ahead. Thank you. And I'll answer that other question there. Go ahead.
All right. So I think you already see my presentation, right? So it's gonna be 2 slides. So how it works was the question. So, and again, this is where we combine forces with Scylla through a orchestration platform called React. And here I'm gonna speak just about the weapon detection part. I always say it's not just one simple weapon detection algorithm. It's basically a combination of several, let's say, to put in a very easy words to understand, several algorithms or models running at the same time that combine pose estimation, frame extrapolation, hands, in this case, normally you grab the gun with your hands, hands region estimation, and basically that combination of factors tell you the possibility and the ability to have a possible person that is drawing a weapon. So this is very important to understand, and this is talking about the tools that we have today, compared with 10 years ago, where the whole analysis of video in physical security was pixel based. Basically, we use pixel to determine different type of color, shades, contrast, to determine it was a weapon in the hands of a person, but basically some kind of pixels that resembles to a weapon, which is completely different. Here is more a statistical approach, talking about what we call for convolutional neural networks. Simple words, resembles how the human mind think and react when they see a weapon from another person. So this is how the algorithm works. Important 4 points here is the solution is camera agnostic. And this is very interesting because most of the time what you have already either in your place or in your customer place is a predefined deployment of cameras that basically are just recording in a dumb way without any intelligence, and adding this middle layer of AI model, we can elevate the situational awareness of weapon using the algorithm, in this case of weapon detection. When I say field of view free, meaning like obviously correctly install and knowing exactly what are your expectations in terms of reach or the distance between the camera and the weapon, you can work with any type of camera, not just the brand, but also the type of camera. For the physical security guys, you know that you have box type, dome type, mini dome, micro dome, etc., etc. So no problem in that regards. The algorithm and the model was trained with several types of arms, where obviously we recognize the three most big chunks of type of guns, which are handguns, rifle, and shotguns. But in between those three divisions, you have thousands of different guns that we can recognize, and even we can distinguish between like a toyish type of gun, like a Nerf gun, versus a real gun, and basically assert the detection. And I think the most important part is the autonomous action. So after you know, not you, but the algorithm knows that there is a possible threat of a person drawing a gun, what to do. And this is related with the time. What to do is start a broadcasting message to public authorities, starting an email notifications to the most closest surrounding guard. If you have a command center, popping up an alarm to start an X or Y protocol. If this is tied to access control system, lock doors and open doors to create, to block certain spaces and create a safe path for, in this case, for student, person, citizens, to just try to go out of the situation and try to do something before the shooter approach to us. Even if you have a public public system where you can basically try to tell to the assailant, a restrain to do something because you aren't recording right now, and police is coming, and try to deter the possible assault that is happening right now. So that's the autonomous action that we are talking about. More questions. So we
let me hit let me hit this one really quick.
Yeah, sure.
Mauricio, Gregory Weston, I'll get to you in 1 second. I saw Mr. Clark or Mrs. Clark, I don't know who, I'm sorry, R. Clark says, how has leadership and supervision changed since Columbine to assist with policies, training, and intervention? I'm going to punch this one right between the eyes and say, listen, because it's not a kind answer, but it is what it is. Monetary problems. It costs more money not to do something than it does to fix a problem. And a lot of companies and institutions have been forced into a corner to do something. And something is always better than nothing in their eyes. The problem is we've had 23, now 25 years of solutions that aren't exactly solutions. They're just really good salespeople that say, hey, this one thing will do everything. And then it doesn't, and we're shocked. This ties into Mr. Weston's question, who I know, Greg. The hesitancy to use AI over human adaptations to anything is it's the way we've always done it, and it always works. And that's where, you know, what you just said, Mauricio, rolling this back to how we approach this, how the AI works, taking a dumb TV and making it smart, you know, where we can now log in with just a regular TV. You don't need all the extra things. Plugging in some type of AI into that platform and buying back those minutes, because the autonomous system is now working, or the AI, artificial intelligence system, is working, and now it's determining, okay, there's your problem, and we're getting the humans involved. And I think, to answer Greg's question and Clark's question at the same time, our Clark, it's going to take a really simple approach of looking at this through a different set of lenses that say, okay, what we've done doesn't work. We haven't come this far to just come this far. It's time to not reinvent the wheel, but adapt to how the changes come.
Great. Okay. So just to check over here. So we already addressed Glenn's question about how important the staff training is to company security technology solutions.
Sure. That quickly, that's an easy one. Thank you, Glenn. I think that let's see, Glenn Norling. Yep, train, be ready. Okay, that's his company. Shout out to him. You know, there is a stigma of, well, I don't need training because I bought this new technology, or I don't need technology because I bought training. And the answer or the solution is another phrase. when what if becomes what now, are you prepared? So you just have to ask yourself that. And you realize that just because you've made a purchase of something, did you tell everyone how it works or how you didn't? And just because we're more intelligent human beings now than we were when I was born 54 years ago, you still need to understand that things evolve and procedures evolve. And very briefly, without getting too deep in a poor incident, there was a shooting not so long ago, and I won't say which one, that a student came from another school and thought the right idea to react was to pull the fire alarm. And in this school, the kids were taught never pull the fire alarm unless there's a fire, and you go to a certain area. This is where the chaos turns into multiple layers of chaos, and you can't stop chaos once it starts. So the best thing we can do is just mitigate it, putting the technology out there, making the training available, and rolling it in a package. And getting back to that original question from Clark, maybe talking to your insurance and looking for a return on investment, because it exists.
Alrighty, so let me just put this as done. I think Gregory Weston question was addressed already. So let me go with Mr. Todd Langley. And the question is there any research and development focus on progress on early detection for non-lethal weapons, clubs, knife, and differentiating that from the daily handheld devices like cell phones? How about any suspicious body language that could be linked to something concealed like a weapon? Let me answer that with the best of my knowledge. So there are several research and development articles, especially from several universities and people that are working with those neural network and the detection for weapons. I don't know specifically if there are one related to knife and club or machetes or something like that. Comparing against cell phone, this should be. For example, I can tell you, taking the weapon detection and the knife detection is more prompt. I mean, knife and this kind of knife or machetes are more likely to false positive. That weapon, I think, and I'm not the super expert in that regards, just because the models and the training models that are more towards weapon because are kind of more lethal. But it's important also to mention that we offer, together with React in conjunction with Scylla, knife detection as well. Doesn't have the same accuracy level that we have in weapon, just as I told you, because the models training is more towards the weapon as today, but can be another layer, talking about layers, that you can implement in order to have a pre-alert of possible threat prevention. That's for Todd. Hopefully that helped you, Todd, to understand more or less the question. And actually, even more than me, and I will invite, I know that my friend from Scylla that are more technical than me, have more knowledge about the training model on the AI training part. We can share more information together and just let us know. You will have our email or contact information. So if you want to know more about the technicality of that part, let us know. So that's for live. I have now Gregory. Also, how does Scylla compare to other autonomous detection platform? How do you measure how your company perform is better? For me, it's very hard to answer data, but I'm gonna answer that and remember this important part. Konica Minolta is working with Scylla as a technology partner for weapon detection, because after more than 1 year of evaluation, we discovered through several tests, being the test, the amount of false positive, how fast the detection happens, and some other factors, that Scylla, what they call it PTD detection, we call it visible weapon detection, was the best performance algorithms as today for this kind of approach. And that's the reason why in the previous in the slide that I showed you before, is why we can tell you that it's camera agnostic, It is field of view free. It detects all or several type of weapons without any problem. Therefore, we can create autonomous actions that trigger some events or alerts or whatever we want to trigger in order to gain time. I do have a presentation that is more technical and have more information regarding some tests in terms of how fast the detection happens. And I can tell you the detection normally happens in between 2 to 8 seconds all the time. But obviously it will vary depending on how far you are, the profile of the weapon, because it's different to detect a rifle, which obviously have a higher profile versus a handgun. And at the end, I will invite you guys not to just blindly believe us. This is the type of solution that you have to have a POC, test, and see how it works in your environment. And that's actually part of our value-added proposal, where we have all the expertise and the team to help you to either revamp your current deployment or maybe add new cameras in this case, because it's visible weapon detection, to your solution to extend the detection range for weapons detection in this particular case. Now I have R. Clark, Mr. Robert Clark. Okay, we spoke when I was a safety director in Columbus, Ohio. I am now in Philly. Okay, I think that's for you, Mr. Chris. So it's
Yeah,
basically...
well, Mauricio, you're amongst royalty right there. Mr. Clark, pleasure to see you. I did not know that was you. Pleasure to see you. I think we're all humbled by your presence, and I don't mean that lightly. Fantastic human being. Thanks for the question, and I look forward to talking to you. I believe you went over to another. Yes, I know exactly where you went to in Philly. All right, Mauricio, I got another question here on. It's an email one to me. It's
Yeah.
more on the application of humans vis-a-vis technology. And I think that everyone here after this short 30 minutes knows that you're the technical expert and I am probably the reverse of that, right? The polar opposite.
No
But I'll
way.
tell you that after talking to many in leadership, and I'm talking about Fortune 5 companies, right? All the way to the government, people are hesitant because they just don't know what's coming around the road tomorrow. And, you know, tomorrow's technology is available today. It just is. That's not a saying, that's just, it is. And I think that there's so much technology when people start looking for, okay, well, I want more, right? You give them a little, they want more. What's the best? That's my favorite question I hear. And I think it's the best that works for your benefit. And the company that's going to come in and solve your problem is what's best for you. And you have to understand it's going to evolve. There's going to be more solutions, there's going to be more opportunities, and there's going to be more technology. And with that will be the need for more training, more conversations, more city community involvement, and at the end of the day, funding. And, you know, I think we're going to talk about briefly, just quickly. I don't have the, do you want me to share? I can't share, but if you can share back that last slide. There, I think Konica Minolta has some mechanisms for funding assistance or grant writing,
Yes.
and to be more clear. And there are a couple white papers available. I know one specifically with Konica Minolta, Scylla, and the Active Shooter Prevention Project. I believe if you just email anyone here, we'll get you a copy of that. However, I just want to wrap this up and say I'm humbled by the time you've given us today. Thank you very much. This is going to be shared broad and wide. And if there's anything you need, please feel free to reach out. I think, you know, I'm not speaking for Mauricio, but you can reach out to me. I'm terrible at responding. So there's a caveat for you right there, but I will get back to you. It just takes a couple of days. And I'm humbled by the opportunity. So thank you all for your time. And I'm going to turn it back over to Mauricio now. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Chris. It was a great presentation. And just to enforce the last part that you mentioned, a lot of great information, but it's important also, again, guys, I promise not to talk about product. Because I promised that I'm going to keep my promise, but it is important one aspect that Chris mentioned. We are not just having the product, like the physical product, in this case, React weapon detection. We also have ways to help you guys to get the right resources in order to start working on your physical security solution on your place. And in that case, we have a grant program here in Konica Minolta that help you guys to apply for those grants in the government as long as you comply with simple steps that, and again, we help you to basically go through the whole process. The whole process basically is do a security assessment to basically start the grant application submission. And we have a great turnover ratio in terms of when we help our customers to apply to those grants and implement all the physical security measurements that have to be implemented in place, including, if your case, because we are talking about visible weapon detection, visible weapon detection. Okay. Well, actually, just a small one because I forgot this one. Aaron Witt, this is a false positive, and we saw how they are mitigated to prevent overreaction. Yes, there is no such algorithm today. It's a matter of weapon detection or any other AI-based algorithm today that doesn't have any error. Even human behavior have error, so it's inherent of the whole algorithm. So 99.6% is our false or accuracy today. So there is a room for false positive, and normally how they are mitigated, two ways. And this is the reason why the first reaction is send information to someone that is accountable, either if you have already in place a command center with a security personnel just to double check the possible threat, or there is a service of man in the middle that is just a dedicated command center that is taking care of those false positive. And again, layers, steps. So that's normally how you handle those situations. And normally, in the typical situation in school, you will have not many, mostly none along the year. But when you have one and you basically hesitate that maybe is an umbrella or a rifle, well, it's better to double check. And this is how normally we tell our customer to handle that situation. And again, it's also part of the assessment that we give you to our customer. Okay, and I think the other ones are just thank you notes. So guys, just to remind you, because I think you already throw that question, this recording is gonna be shared with you guys. Allow us 2-3 days maybe to share the information with you. And if you have, hopefully you have more questions. Hopefully we raised your curiosity. So you know that we were Konica Minolta together with Scylla. We have the pleasure to have Chris today to speak a little bit about the importance of preventing a shooter situation and how to basically today what we was trying to show you that we are part of that multi-layer approach in terms of weapon detection and prevention. The whole point here is gain time, having a little bit of extra time to react and do something. So thank you again for your time. Hopefully you like it. And hopefully we see you in the next occasion with more information for you guys.
Everybody, take care. Thanks for your time. Thank you, Mauricio. I appreciate you for being such a gracious host.
Thank you.